What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO, legend, and paranormal lore. Welcome back, welcome back. Happy to be back. Hopefully you guys are doing excellent and taking care of yourselves. Tonight, I want to talk to you about the drone armies that China has created that could be utilized against America. So, a lot of times we think that we're invincible here in America, and in many ways we are. But what about all of our friends around the world? What about Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, Europe? You know, all of the United Nations. You know, an attack against one is an attack against all. So, I did want to show you guys this video that was put together for an air show in China. Now, many of you might be interested in drones. Maybe many of you have played with drones. Maybe some of you own a drone for recreational purposes, for taking pictures, for whatever. I'm willing to bet that most folks don't know that the Chinese company DJI, which many people might own one of their drones, has 70% of the market share. Of the world's market share, not America. The world's market share. 70%, one company. You know what we call that in America? A monopoly. So, you might say, oh, well, 70%? Okay, well, America's got to have the other 30, right? Hell to the no. Okay? And I'm going to show you a video. So, I'll just keep that in mind. I'm going to show you a video in just a second. So, I don't want you to think that I'm not going to show you a video, because I want you to see it. We're going to talk about the implications of it. But if you think that America's got some sort of foothold in the drone world or drone business, we don't. Number one is DJI with 70% of the market share. Number two is Parrot, which is a French company, straight out of Paris, France. Parrot.com. They make great drones as well. They've been in the game for a long, long, long time. Number three is UNEC, which is straight out of China. Number three. So you got number one, 70%. Number two is French. It doesn't say how much their market share is. But then number three is UNEC. Number four is Autel Robotics, also in China, also a Chinese company. Then we have Skydio, which happens to be an American company. Okay, so number five, way down the list, number five. And to be honest, this is all for defense. So, of course, we know that we spend a shit ton of money on defense here in America. We spend probably half of our money on defense, which is insane, because we have plenty of homeless people and people that need health care, and we're not spending it on that. So, Skydio is a company that creates drones. However, they're mostly for defense and public safety and a little bit of energy and utilities. That's it. It's not for public consumption. It's used for the U.S. Army Short Range Reconnaissance Program and cutting-edge autonomous technology for its potential impact on military operations. The sixth most popular company is, for drone company, is in China as well. It's called Holystone. Holystone. Okay. Now, this is a consumer, educational, and toy drone company, okay? Number seven, Hubsun, another Chinese company. Number eight, Power Vision. Where? Huh? Who? Another Chinese company. Number nine, Ehang. I'm willing to bet you're going to know where that's from. China. It's used for manned transportation and logistics transportation. Autonomous aerial vehicles, okay? These things can do whatever you need them to do. You just program it in and they can do it. And number 10 is Flyability. Do you think it's from China? Oh, well, you'd be wrong. This one's actually located in Switzerland. So you have most of the drones created in the entire world straight out of China. So now that you know that, let me show you something that's going to make you feel uncomfortable. Okay? Let's just take a look at this for a moment. Let me pause the music here and get you a little bit out of your comfort zone. Let me see if I can, how big I can make this. This is as big as I can make it. I'm going to show it to you, okay? Check this out, okay? Here is the beginning of the China Zhuhai Air Show. It's a drone swarm show. The drone swarms are what America and China is creating. It's their goal to be number one, both us and China. So let's take a look and see what they have. Watch this. Does this look like anything out of Star Wars? Yeah, it does. Look at these swarms. They're coordinated. And wait, it gets better. Look at this. That's an entire wall of drones. Could you imagine a jet fighter trying to get through an entire wall of drones? It would probably clog up their jets and take it down. And these things are inexpensive. They could just make these and continue to create them and continue to pump them out to stop any Air Force. All they got to do is clog up their jets. That's all they got to do before they get to a Chinese base. They could send 1 million of these things out and end a war before it even starts. Look at that wall. Look at that wall right there. And if we go back just a little bit, you can see how thick it is. Look how impenetrable this is. Ryan Graves, who's a United States Air Force previous jet pilot, stated that he would see these circular encasements that were translucent, but inside were a black square. And these things would just be in the air. They had no means of propulsion that he could tell, yet they were up in the air. How were they up there? They're either alien or they're some other form of maybe Chinese technology. Typically, they see those translucent balls with the black squared box inside of it is kind of what they call. Usually 10 miles off of the coast of Virginia. So it's starting to become like, their training area. It's not quite international waters, I don't believe. But this stuff is out there. This technology is out there. And other technologies that we don't know about, and that, each military is secretive to other militaries. They're not going to show their cards. This stuff should terrify you, man. And I would almost be 100% worried about this. And looking at it, I was like, holy shit, man. This is like the future battlefield, right? All they got to do is send a bunch of these over. They don't even have to have, a humongous weapon on board. They could literally have some very small weaponry on board and be smaller caliber drones. And if they can initiate some sort of frequency, audible weapon, kind of like the Havana Syndrome weaponry, then as soon as they get close enough to a target and it's releasing those frequencies, which you can release out of a pretty small speaker, or emitter of some sort, a speaker, then you could disable a whole bunch of people really quickly. You could use some projectile weaponry on them as well if you wanted to, but I think just disabling or creating some sort of like sleep weapon or just a total disabling of your nervous system, like the Havana Syndrome is, then I think you get the idea. You get what I'm getting at right here. So these things could be under the radar. This is why America has decided to basically state that if you have a DJI drone, that they want you to get rid of it. They've come out and said, hey, we don't want these things. These things are dangerous. These things are going to be a problem for us. So if you even look up DJI, Chinese drones, problem for the United States, what you're going to find is that lawmakers want the U.S. to address risks posed by these Chinese drones, especially these Chinese agriculture drones. Why? Because they're giving away free information to Chinese servers. So they're getting in much lower than what a satellite could do, and they're from China. They're tied to them. DJI responded after the United States government said that there was a security concern. DJI responded and said that they have no ties to the Chinese military, saying in the statement, the unfounded accusations against our agricultural drone technology are putting U.S. farmers at risk by potentially depriving them of tremendous benefits of the DJI spray drones. However, like China always is, it's run by the government. Everything is state-run, companies, everything. The U.S. agencies declined to comment. The congressional letter noted that the Commerce Department has imposed export restrictions on aerosol dispensing drones and have potential to be used as weapon delivery platforms. That's crazy, but not that crazy. The risk of these DJI agricultural spray drones being manipulated to carry out an attack in the United States cannot be ignored. Relying on our greatest strategic adversary for technology is critical. Sorry, it's blocking my screen here. For the success of our agricultural products, and it endangers the resiliency of our food supply. Remember when we all started getting all those seeds from China just randomly, and people were getting them in their mailbox? I'm like, what the fuck is this? And it would have a Chinese label on it, and nobody knew what the hell it was. People were thinking, are these poisoned? Are they trying to get us to put these into our crops? Could they potentially poison the crops that we already have? So people were getting emails and notifications saying, hey, if you get a package like that, throw it out immediately. Do not plant them. Do not use them. That was one of the weirdest things, and it came out right around 2020 as well. It was so fucking weird, and they never really had an answer for it. And you almost wonder if it was kind of an operation by the Chinese government, to mail this stuff to people. And these DJI drones, they're great, right? They're great. They're fantastic. People fly them around all the time. They're used for professional photography, for weddings, for real estate, for business. In 2020, the U.S. imposed export restrictions on DJI. The lawmakers have said that the DJI accounts for more than 50% of all U.S. drone purchases. And that's just the U.S. And of course, we know they have the 70% drone share of the market. So one has to say, man, this is scary, right? This is scary. Now, could our government take these down if they were trying to come into our airspace? Sure they could. I'm sure the government has some sort of frequency jamming radar frequency emitter that could knock these things out of the sky. No problem. But if you got millions of them and you're shooting them across the pond and you're putting them all on different frequencies, and maybe the frequencies that they're shooting out from the U.S. government don't happen to hit one of their frequencies, now you got a problem, right? Now you got a big problem. There's different frequencies that are used for everything. For like police radios now, they've all gone digital. They're on a totally different frequency. They used to be analog, and now they're digital. So if you got an old analog one, you typically can't really hear much of anything. People used to listen to like police radio all the time, just as a hobby, that kind of thing. Find out where emergencies were happening, that kind of thing, and report it on like social media. But now everything's all digital. You could listen to police radio on an app instead of actually owning a really expensive old Radio Shack version. I know because I used to work at Radio Shack. China's not stupid, guys. They're not stupid. These guys are probably the biggest potential threat. I know that people are always talking about Russia, but I think China's definitely up there. They haven't posed a direct threat to us in recent times. However, the Chinese government and Chinese culture has had numerous vast military empires that date back to 2000 years ago BC, BC. From 581 to 617, they had a unified China that was after the fall of the Han Dynasty that brought about a period of economic and agricultural prosperity. Buddhism spread at that time, and it inspired a whole bunch of art and sculptures. And even from that, you had the Zhao Dynasty, you had the Han Dynasty, the Ming Dynasty, the Tang Dynasty, and the list goes on and on and on. The Yuan, the Shang, and these guys continued to craft their knowledge base throughout thousands of years. America's only been here for like 250 to 270 years, depending on, who you want to talk to, whether or not you count the colonial times. So, America's great. America's got an amazing defense network. America has a lot of the UFO crash ships that they've reverse engineered for their defense technology and for technology that we've used around the world, and they've made a lot of money off of it. One would be somewhat nervous in their country if you were in any other country other than America. Because let's face it, many other countries spend their money on a lot better things than just their military. Not to say that security isn't important, but let's face it, you don't have Sweden, you don't have Denmark, you don't have Norway spending 50% of their budget or more on their defense. You don't. You don't have a lot of European countries doing that. You don't. You don't have, I don't know about, Africa or Australia, but I'm assuming that they don't either. A lot of African areas probably need to spend more than others, just to due to the nature of, governments down there. But for the vast majority, America spends a shit ton of money. We've got huge companies here, that are military based, that are contractors. You got Northrop Grumman, you've got these huge companies, and I've known a few people who've worked for them, and they will not say shit. The military contractor companies, if we even look at them here in the U.S., we've got even Boeing, Raytheon, BAE Systems, General Dynamics, Lockheed Martin, even General Electric is considered one. Those are just the big ones. Then you've got all the aerospace companies. You got SpaceX. You got a ton of other ones. But these big companies that make these big weapons, they make big money, man. They make big money, and they protect us. So when you see that video, are you afraid that a country like China might potentially invade the United States with that kind of tech? Now, keep in mind too that not only can they use those drones as just a brute force weapon, but they can also use those drones to create amazing images in the sky, can't they? You've seen the images. You've seen the 4th of July parades that they use here in America to create amazing artwork in the skies. But the Chinese have perfected it probably 20-fold from what we've done. So they can create basically blue beam technology. They could create what looks like a god in the sky with drones coming down with the hand of God, freaking people out, making people bow to their knees, and making people think that, Jesus came back. They could probably do that with those drones. Yeah, you'd hear the drones, right? You'd hear the hum, but maybe people would freak out, immediately until they could figure out what the hell's really going on to cause a distraction, and it wouldn't take millions of drones to do that. It might take thousands, but it wouldn't take millions. So are you concerned that they could have blue beam like technology? Basically, Any technology that would be, that would defy our senses temporarily or permanently to cause mass panic, right? Or disbelieving in reality, causing everything to go down. Power, people working, paying their bills, going into self-defense mode, and, potentially harming each other just to survive. I mean, this is where we're at. Think about this for a second. If you don't think that, that kind of technology is that big of a deal, think about this for a second. Did you watch the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight? Well, Jake Paul, on his page, before the fight, showed 3 videos of him kissing Mike Tyson. They were not real, but they looked real. They looked 100% real. In various places, like on a Hawaiian landscape, and then, in a studio, and then like on another beautiful landscape. Never happened. It never happened. That's where we're at right now. We're in a day and age where people can develop any kind of video to freak you out and make you think something happened. And then all of a sudden people are going to believe it, and then that becomes reality. What you see is not always reality. They tell you, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. I think that is something very accurate to take away from today's podcast. Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. Remember, you're one witness to an objective reality, right? Or subjective reality, because you're only one subject watching reality. When people interview car crash witnesses, they only see one kind of angle, but a person on the total opposite end of the street might be able to see that it was a different person's fault than what you believed it was, even though neither one of you were part of it, right? It just depends on whose perspective has the best angle and most information. So who has the best perspective? Who has the best angle on this kind of information? Only those in the high up. Only those high up in the military on both sides of the spectrum. On the good guys, and the bad guys. But there's no good guys and bad guys. It's just people. And so just keep that in mind too. We're all just people. So I don't know. It's something to think about, man. There's so much out there, so much video out there, so much interesting stuff out there. Especially from moving from 2024 to 2025, we really got to keep our eyes open on AI. I didn't think it would move this fast, and it has moved tremendously fast from 2022 to 2024. I mean, it went from being sloppy as shit to basically being perfect, almost. In 2024. So 2025, I imagine it'll probably be perfect. So believe half of what you see, none of what you hear, whether it's in the skies or especially on your computer. But if you can get firsthand knowledge of it, firsthand experience of it, that's probably the best thing. Anyway, guys, take care of yourself spiritually, physically, and emotionally. Follow through on your hobbies and your goals and your dreams. And as always, continue to question the universe around you. Please like, follow, share, subscribe. Thanks to all those folks that have been listening, giving me good advice. I appreciate you. That stuff makes a big difference, and I do podcasts based off of your suggestions. So if there's anything you've seen that I haven't seen yet, well, chances are the stuff that you've seen, I might not have seen yet. I get a chance to kind of do research a couple times a week, and then I try to produce a lot of the content on the weekend when I have time. So if there's something that you want to see, let me know, and I will try to put it together on Saturday, Sunday, and maybe a day or two during the week when I have time. But I'm trying to make enough podcasts to put out every other day. On average, I might put out 2 a day, and then I might not be able to put anything out for a couple days or 3 days. But then I'll try to put 2 more out to try to make up for it. So that's kind of my goal, is to kind of play the catch-up game when I can. And not every day there's good news either. Sometimes there's nothing, So you got to go back in time and research, old stuff and see if there's anything new you can find. So, if there's anything good, recommend it. Put it in the comment section. Love to hear from you guys. Love to have a good conversation. Love to have the community, and it's fun to talk to folks, around the world. So, take care of yourselves, guys. Please like, follow, share, subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. Share it on your webpage. Say, hey man, I checked out this cool podcast, Lockdown Universe, and share the link, or just tell them to go check it out on their podcast site that they listen to. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate you. Lockdown Universe out. Peace.